Hi friends, Grace Rosa here. I hope you're having a great day. This video is coming in response to a question that I received in a group forum and just as a thread where someone said, "Hey, can you go into more detail about this?" And I've been asked this about 3 times this week, so I think it's important that I put together some information and share what I know, if at all it benefits you. But really today we're talking about sales. I know, the horrible S word that has been really treated like the worst four-letter word on the planet in our great profession of dentistry. And the first thing I want to tell you is that you need to define sales before you can really embrace it with your team. If you say this word, like we need to improve our sales skills, and everyone cringes and looks away, they don't have the right definition. So I'm going to share with you my definition first, and then I'm going to go into how you can increase case acceptance, increase even a little bit on scheduling with patients and word choice. And I want to paint this picture that sales and mastering sales conversations is a dance. It's a two-way conversation. And a lot of times people want to memorize exactly what to say and just do that thing over and over again. But it's more about connection with a person, sharing value, making sure you understand their needs and meeting them where they're at. And so let's start with definition. What is sales? Well, according to Grace Rizza, yours truly, sales is helping patients want the dentistry that they need. Not more than they need, not less than they need, but helping them want the dentistry that is in their best interest that they need. So when you present this to your team, make sure you all agree with that definition and you can get behind that. And that is the true intention of what you're doing in your dental practice. All right. So we all hate sales, especially in healthcare, but let's remember it's about wanting what they need. Nothing more, nothing less. We're not going to be pushy. We're never going to lie. And this approach is all about just bridging the gap in understanding so that patients can build trust with you and take steps towards having optimal health. So today I'm going to show you some verbal skills and we're going to talk about strategic communication to help improve case acceptance and to lead to better outcomes for your patients. So the first thing is make sure you have clear treatment plans. Make sure that patients can actually follow what you're talking about. If you're just hitting print on your patient management, practice management software, you might be missing an opportunity to show the treatment in a way where the patient can actually understand it. So before I send out a marketing plan, for instance, I sit down with my potential client and I talk through I talk through what these things mean. I talk through the process of these things. I answer questions. I spend a good hour with a patient. Listen to me. I'm so used to dentistry. With a client, explaining how things are and what they are and engaging with them to make sure that they understand their investment. And I would encourage you to sell the same way that I sell, which is through education and through a two-way conversation with your patient. So if you take that treatment plan and you break it down into something that makes sense, it has already a higher likelihood of being accepted. So for instance, if you have a bunch of codes and the patient, you're just assuming that they know what an onlay is or what this is or what that is or what any of the treatment is, you are missing an opportunity to get them to want the treatment that they need. So make sure that it is clear and simple. And it doesn't take much to do this, right? Like you could have literally a flyer for each type of main dental service that you provide that's branded, that talks through your individual process and how you get the best possible outcome and how you manage their comfort and making sure that they are comfortable during the procedure. And you could have these on hand. It would not be expensive to create custom branded flyers. And remember, in sales, we're not just answering why this treatment. Why do I need a crown? Why should I get tooth whitening? But we're answering, why should I get this crown from you, Dr. So-and-so? Why should I get this whitening from you, Dr. So-and-so, versus over the counter, versus sucking on a lemon, versus charcoal scrub, versus the dentist on the street? There are a lot of options for people. So how are you going to not just communicate value in the service itself, but in you and your process and your teams and your technology and everything great that you have to offer. Okay, so being able to clearly identify why the treatment and also why us for the treatment is step one. Making sure your treatment plans are in plain English and your patient can follow them is a part of that. Next, avoid dental jargon. And you can use analogies when it helps to get the patient to understand the need for something. So, for instance, you have a cracked tooth, compare it to a cracked windshield and what will happen over time. It's not an issue that's obvious right now, but it poses a threat to your overall health in the long term if it's something we don't take care of. And here are your options, or here is the solution, right? You also need to watch your vocal tone. There is a woman named Vanessa Van Edwards who talks all about body language. She is an expert in the nonverbals of communication and what we communicate, even when we're not using words to communicate. And she's an excellent resource to follow. I'm a big fan. So check her out. But avoid dental jargon, use analogies, and also pay attention to your nonverbals. Your tone of speech is very important. If you talk too quickly, patients are going to feel rushed. And when patients feel rushed, they feel like you don't care about them. So assess, is my tone rushed? If your tone is rushed, you're going to lose that patient. They're going to feel unimportant. And just be able to communicate with confidence. I see a lot of women when they're ending sentences, they're talking like they're asking a question and their voice is going up at the end of the sentence, and they feel bad about money and they feel bad about treatment. And if they could just learn to keep a low, matter-of-fact tone and to talk at an appropriate speed, their case acceptance would shoot up. So look at the nonverbals, look at the tone, look at the level of confidence in your voice, and start to just study these subtle cues in communication that will build credibility with you and your team. Because remember, the second you walk out the door, your patient is going to turn to somebody on your team and say, do I really need this thing? Is she telling me the truth? And so be ready that you practice this with your team as well, because this communication, this honest communication that is backed by true nonverbals is going to help get case acceptance. All right. Present treatment in phases if you need to. If it seems overwhelming for the patient, give them the whole picture. They deserve to understand what's going on with their oral health, but also break it down into bite-sized phases. And I would argue that treatment planning and communication with patients around what they need and why is one of the highest and most valuable uses of your time and or your treatment coordinator's time. So if you have one person who's going to be presenting treatment, invest in that person. Have them read sales books. Have them follow Vanessa Van Edwards. Have them follow me. Have them learn the fundamentals behind sales and verbal communication so that they can help more patients want exactly what they need. Again, nothing more, nothing less. And there's nothing unethical about what you're doing here. Let's go on to a desk, a designated area, intraoral photos, the actual presentation. If you are wanting to have a practice that has a comprehensive approach to care and you're not just treating what's in pain and then pushing their appointment to the next visit, you really want to sit down and help the patient achieve optimal oral health, then you should have a designated place to educate the patient. When they are leaned back in the chair and they've just had their mouth open for 20 minutes, they're not in a physical postural state to receive the information that you have to give them. So plan that treatment planning session. Get together with the patient, invite their spouse or parent or whoever is a decision maker with them to this appointment and break down their options. If you want to have better case acceptance, you need to give this ample time. I ran an experiment. I'll tell you really quickly. I ran an experiment in my business where I went, you know what? I could have 30-minute calls with new clients. We'll just talk on the most important things. And if they're really interested, they'll book a follow-up call. My acceptance tanked because people got off that first call and they felt rushed and they still had questions and they didn't fully understand everything that I was presenting. Did I see more new clients per month? Yes, I had more new clients. Did my acceptance decline? Yes. So I was working harder for a lower return on investment because I was rushing. It was a failed experiment. Hey, I tried. Um, Went back to longer appointments and everything just picked up again. I mean, it was like a faucet. So you might just be in a position where you're not allocating enough time to have these new patient experiences and to be able to clearly articulate what the patient needs and why, and communicate the value of getting that treatment from you and your team. So, intraoral pictures help to present this treatment in a way where the patient can see it and feel it and touch it and it becomes tangible. Coming from someone who offers SEO, search engine optimization, and AI, ask engine optimization, and Google Ads, I know a little something about making the intangible tangible. If you tell a patient they have something wrong, but you don't show them, your case acceptance percentage goes down. So the phrase I want you to keep in your mind with your team is show and tell. Show and tell, just like kindergarten. Show them the problem and then explain to them the options and also what happens if they don't get treatment. What happens if they do nothing? A lot of times we simply don't make the time to have those conversations, or we don't have the structure in our protocol, so we forget to mention things because we are just busy running from room to room, telling the patient what they need, but not taking the time to get their understanding. And I know that the dentist perspective, and it's a fair one, is hey, I'm the doctor and you are. And so, why, when you go to another doctor, I've even had people say, you don't question the gynecologist. Well, sure we do. And sure we do question medical, physicians, family care physicians. We question those things too. We're living in an age of discernment. We're no longer in the space where we're just going to blindly accept what we're told to do. We have information at our fingertips. We can Google, we can AI, we can chat GPT, we can get second opinions, we can watch YouTube videos, and we can form opinions from a lot of different places. So if you're not taking time to be the source of education for your patients, and I'm going to push that even further, for your local community, then they are going to get that education elsewhere and you will lose the opportunity to be the authority. I'm just going to take a minute to tie in the marketing here. If you are marketing on social media, you should be sharing educational videos. You should be creating content that positions you as the expert in your field. This, again, is going to increase not just your new patient flow, but also your case acceptance because your new patients are already going to have you on a bit of a pedestal. They're already going to respect your opinion because they followed you. They respect your education and they appreciate it. So education is a form of marketing. It's also a form of increasing case acceptance. So if you get too technical, if you cannot make your communication something that they can easily understand, you will lose the patient. I see this in marketing too. You'll see certain marketers just talk right over your head. Oh, well, the cost per click and click through rate and impression share loss and da 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 da. And they tell you all the things, and they're not lying, and they're right, maybe, and they're accurate, maybe, but they're doing it in a way where you don't understand it. And if they don't slow down and ask questions and have dialogue with you, they're talking over you. And it's the same thing in dentistry. If you are talking over the heads of your patients, they're going to find someone that they feel more comfortable with. They don't care what you know until they know that you care. And if you really, really care about them, you want them to understand what they need and why. And I know you don't want to do this. I know that you just want to be doing clinical dentistry. You just want to be busy with treatment. And if that's the case, then share this with your employees. Share this with your treatment coordinator, your office manager. Let them sharpen those verbal skills and support you where it's needed. But someone's got to do it because you have treatment walking out the door. You have case acceptance walking out the door with no follow-through protocol, with no verbal skills training, with low vocal confidence, with jargon-filled presentations, with code-filled treatment plans. And it's not a difficult fix, and it's totally worth putting the energy into all the things that I'm recommending today. All right, next, payment options, financing, and insurance transparency. Let's talk about it. First of all, if you are a fee for service or out of network practice, you are not out of the running. A lot of you still apply their insurance, you still apply their benefits and utilize their benefits, but you are not restricted by what their insurance will cover. This conversation is very, very important, and not only important to have it, but it's important to master it. You should have some scripts that your team can study. I have a blog about this with some really great verbiage, especially for new patient phone calls, that will help just get them in the door. But after they're in the door and you're presenting treatment, you also need to have similar verbiage to get them to the point of acceptance. So they're sitting there thinking, well, if I just went to an in-network dentist, how much more affordable would this be? And what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that they don't value you above any other dentist. The mindset is that every dentist is the same. Well, watch my video about why I left my last dentist, and let that be a reminder to you that not every dentist is going to communicate at the same level. Not every dentist is honest, as much as we want to believe that. And these patients are best treated by you. And if you don't feel that they're best treated by you, then I would encourage you to sharpen your skills, get continuing education, and don't offer the services that you're not really proficient in, or that you don't have the right specialist support to complete. So if, for instance, there's a marketing service that I don't feel like I am the best at, I'm not going to offer it. I'm going to not fake it until I make it. I'm going to learn. I'm going to practice. I'm going to be honest. And I'm going to only offer what I am confident that I can provide, with expectations that are fair and reasonable based on experience. So the fake it till you make it advice is awful. Never do it. And make sure that you are transparent with people about your insurance participation, but also be prepared to sell. Yes, I'm using the 4-letter word, sell. And what I mean by that is get them to want the fee-for-service care, the out-of-network care. Not all patients are making these decisions on finances alone. And if you think that, you're walking away from a lot of treatment. You are losing in business because you have limiting beliefs about how other people think. Some of them, yes. Some patients don't value you. They're not good patients. They don't understand that different dentists have different levels of experience, have different types of technology. They don't know why they should pick you. And that's why you've got to be able to help them understand that. All right. When you treatment plan and you present cost, you can't avoid money. You can't speed up when you're talking about money. And you can't do the thing where you raise your voice. You can't say, yeah, I mean, this whole plan is going to be $11,000. But we can really try to help you by making sure that your insurance will cover some of it, and we're going to maximize your benefits. When I talk like that, my vocal tone is apologetic. And what am I actually presenting? I'm presenting the idea that our treatment is too expensive, that it costs more than it's worth. So when you say, well, this whole plan is $11,000, let's talk about some options with that. That sounds a lot more confident. You can break it down into what treatment is most necessary and how we can approach this in phases. You can have prepared different financing options. You can pre-plan what they're qualified for. I have a course on my website that is all about pre-qualifying patients before they even get in the chair. It is about virtual consultations. I encourage you to purchase it. It's at identitydental.com/courses. And I break down the whole process of pre-qualifying patients and getting them scheduled in a way where they're actually going to show up to their first appointment. So if you have an issue with no-shows and you need more training on how do we close the loop between marketing initiative generates a lead, but lead isn't showing up, isn't a good viable patient, and so therefore we have no-shows, therefore let's just throw away the marketing. No, therefore we need a more intentional sales cycle, sales process. And that whole video breaks down the process of getting them from lead to qualified and paying patient. Okay, so I definitely recommend that. So have your financing options ready. If you have an in-house savings plan, have that ready to explain, but don't do it apologetically. A lot of the reason why people lose business is simply because they don't have vocal confidence and they don't truly believe that they are the best option for this particular patient. And patients can tell when you are not being totally transparent about that. You don't want to surprise the patient. Nobody likes surprise fees. So if there is something that you aren't 100% on what it's going to cost or if there might be additional fees, you've got to communicate that with total transparency up front, because really the quickest way to lose business in any field is to surprise people with fees that they were not expecting. So really important you break that down. All right, next we're going to talk about addressing this out of network thing. I kind of touched on it, but I really want you to say we're an unrestricted provider, which means we're not limited by insurance company rules. That allows us to offer the best, most comprehensive care based on your individual needs, not based on your contract with your insurance plan and what they'll limit in terms of coverage. The great news is we can still maximize your benefits. We can still help you file this or file this on your behalf. This and this probably won't be covered, but they would not be covered with an in-network doctor either. So it's important that you learn how to break down their individual plan and how you are going to utilize their benefits if they do have benefits and you are an out-of-network provider. Really super important if you are doing a lot of cosmetic work, if you're doing dental implants, anything that's out of network in general, it's still helpful to have these verbal skills. All right, and the next one, probably the most important, is you need to be asking questions. And these questions need to be intentionally crafted to help build understanding with the patient. So for instance, if I just sit here and I talk at you and I talk like I'm doing in this video, and I don't slow down and ask you questions, you're not really going to engage in as much with this content. It's the same thing with your patient. If you say, Grace, great to meet you. I've got your plan here. We're going to go over this today. And then you just keep talking. If you are talking for 10 minutes and you haven't asked any questions, you are not getting case acceptance. You are not getting the highest percentage of case acceptance. Telling ain't selling. Write it down. Telling ain't selling. So for instance, let's just talk this out. Imagine you've got a patient that has some deep decay in a tooth and they really need to get this fixed. You might ask, have you noticed discomfort on this tooth? I noticed there was some deep decay here. Are you uncomfortable when you're eating? And then zip it. Let the patient answer your question. They will tell you their problem. Here's a big one. If all you take from this video is this one thing, write this down. Don't be afraid to ask this question, okay? Here's the scenario. You have presented treatment. You have told the patient what they need, and they're silent. And they say this to you, I just need to think about it. Give me some time, I'll think about it. That treatment goes walking out the door. What can you ask to get that patient to open up? That's your question to answer today. What can you ask? How about this? Grace, I totally respect that. I'm going to give you time, absolutely whatever time you need. We are not pushy at all. What is it that you are still deliberating? What is it that is going to help you make this decision? And then shut up and stop talking. Your patient will tell you their objections. You cannot overcome objections in business and in sales until you get the other person comfortable enough to voice them. Don't be afraid of the pause. Ask a question and give your patient time to think about their answer. And don't be nervous about this. This is just a part of your job. This is a part of helping the patients in your community want the dental care that they need. Here's another fun one. My next tip. You can offer a virtual follow-up call with the spouse or parent or decision maker. So if they say, this all looks good to me, I'm probably going to move forward with it. I just want to run it by my husband. He's the one that really controls all our finances. I want to make sure that we can swing it. When they go home, what are they going to say? They're going to say, hey, spouse, the dentist said I need $11,000 worth of treatment. And he's going to go, you don't need $11,000 worth of treatment. Why don't you just fix that one tooth that's bothering you? Find a different dentist who can just fix that one tooth. That's ridiculous. They missed all the education. They missed all the explaining. They missed all the questions. They did not partake in the decision-making process. And so therefore, you can't expect to get to yes if the decision maker is not involved. So if they mention their spouse or a decision maker that they need to talk to, invite them to book a follow-up call or a sit-down conversation so that we can go over the plan together and make sure that your spouse understands the importance of getting you in good health. And you can book it right then and there. What's their work schedule like? We can even book a video Zoom call with your spouse and go over this plan to make sure that we address any of their questions or concerns. If you can do that, increase case acceptance right there. All right, and next, unaccepted treatment and follow-up. I'm going to add the words with concern, okay? People are like, what's a follow-up protocol? We don't want to harass patients. We don't want to seem desperate. Well, don't. This is a very no-pressure outreach. It's something to the effect of, hi, Grace, we are just reaching out. We noticed we haven't heard back from you. We met last week and had this whole treatment plan for you. I'm just a little worried because if left untreated, that plan that we talked about could progress and will likely become worse. Is there a time we could set up a quick call to talk through the next steps? Getting them back on the phone, back in the office, or even in a Zoom call, like mentioned before, is extremely helpful. But you need to root this in concern and true concern, not quotas, not sales. It needs to be based on you caring about your patient. And how do you do this? How do you keep this at the center of your focus is your patient's concern? I want you to think about this, okay? I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to intentionally engage you here, and I want you to think about it. What happens to that patient when they leave your practice? What happens? They didn't accept treatment. They didn't book it. They didn't put down a deposit, and they walk out the door. What happens to them? Here's what happens, okay? They either go to another dentist, and we don't know that dentist's qualifications. We don't know if they're ethical. We don't know if they're honest. We don't know if they're going to do a good job. Or they don't go to another dentist. They put it off for another year, and now everything is much worse, and they're too embarrassed to come back to you. So when it's really, really a problem, they go elsewhere. Or maybe they travel to another country and try to find it on the cheap and end up having even worse problems. If you really care about these people, you care about them getting the best quality care, and you know that you can provide that. So it's worth outreach saying, just thinking about you, notice we didn't get that plan booked for you, and I know how important this is. Let's book a follow-up call or talk through where we might be able to start or what we can do next. And sometimes that little bit of follow-up is incredibly helpful. And I know as dentists, you want my whole workflow. How do I do it? How often do I reach out? What do I say exactly? Well, with this information, you could write your own follow-up protocol. It's not hard. You have a spreadsheet. You have a treatment coordinator who follows up. They could follow up 3 times, 3 weeks in a row, and then maybe monthly after that. But you can come up with a plan that's not harassing, that's not aggressive, and that is rooted in care and concern. And I recommend these being personalized. I recommend these being not automated, not AI. People, maybe it will get there in the future, but people want to feel important. They don't just want to get some automated boop, spend money, boop, you didn't book, book here, you need to book. They want to know how much you care. So customize that content, make it appropriate for your business, but that outreach is absolutely going to be huge for case acceptance. And last but not least, let's reiterate that sales is simply honest communication that helps people make the right decision for their health. And today I want to leave you with a little bit of a challenge. Focus less on being persuasive, focus less on doing all the right things, and focus more on staying centered in the importance of the care that you provide so that your whole team can get on board with these strategies and help you implement them. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a great day. Feel free to rewatch this video and take notes and come up with a plan. But I am hopeful that after watching this video, you can improve your case acceptance and improve your bottom line through excellent service and excellent communication. Thanks. Have a great day.